You are cordially invited to celebrate the birth of P. Diddy.
Once a man who clinked glasses with Diddy during Hollywood's wildest, most extravagant nights, why is Will Smith now standing in a courtroom pointing at his former close friend and declaring, "I can't stay silent any longer"?
People's bullshit. I ain't been nowhere near that man, ain't did none of that stupid shit. So, whenever y'all hear it, if somebody say that, it's a damn lie. I don't even like baby oil.
Once upon a time, Will Smith and Diddy were inseparable names, woven into the fabric of Hollywood's most legendary revelries, where potent liquor, stunning women, and hushed whispers mingled with pulsing music and dim, flickering lights. Will was there, raising glasses, bringing his son along, laughing heartily beside Diddy as if they were soulmates bound by shared secrets. Yet now, in the stark halls of a federal courtroom, he stands on the opposing side, each word of his testimony landing like a calculated shove, pushing Diddy deeper into the quagmire of legal peril. What drove Will to flip the script and lay everything bare? Is this merely a vengeful clash between two fated titans, or the desperate cry of a father, a man haunted by sights he can never unsee? As justice begins to call out the names of those once deemed untouchable, will Will Smith be the spark igniting a seismic upheaval that tears Hollywood apart, or is he just a pawn thrust forward on a crumbling chessboard of power? And Diddy, the man who once reigned at the pinnacle, can he withstand the relentless surge of truth rising against him? Or will he be drowned by the very soulmate who once stood by his side?
Federal courtroom in New York became the epicenter of global attention as Will Smith, the Oscar-winning movie star, took the witness stand to confront Sean Diddy Combs. Here, Smith's testimony was not merely an accusation, but a nuclear bomb, detonating to expose Hollywood's darkest secrets, a shadowy world where power, wealth, and manipulation have long concealed heinous crimes.
I can't stay silent any longer. Sean Combs isn't human. He's the embodiment of evil, a demon who has manipulated and shattered countless lives, including mine and my son's.
Hollywood is the hurry up and wait game. So I'm running all over the studio. He's not in his dressing room. I go to the cafeteria. I'm like, well, but I see his car there. So I open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having anal sex with Will. There was a couch, and Will was bent over on the couch, and Dwayne was standing up.
Those words sliced through the air like a blade. From the defendant's table, Diddy tilted his head slightly, his gaze sharp as a dagger fixed on Will, but Will stood unshaken. He began to speak, each word landing like a hammer blow against Diddy's empire, laying bare crimes so horrific they seemed beyond belief. Will's testimony flung open a door to the shadows, exposing the ghastly secrets of Hollywood's underbelly. He began by recounting his journey with Diddy, tracing it back to 1990 when both were rising stars, their paths intertwined with ambition. But the true darkness, he said, crept in around. That was when Diddy ushered Will into the inner circle, the notorious freak-off parties where the elite of the entertainment world converged.
At first, I thought it was a golden ticket. Who wouldn't want to be there? The most powerful players in the industry, multi-million-dollar deals, connections that could reshape a career. I naively believed I was lucky to be chosen by Diddy.
But that innocence quickly dissolved as Will realized these gatherings were no paradise, they were a gateway to a living hell. As Will delved deeper into his memories, his voice grew heavier, each word seeming to carve into his heart like a blade. The freak-off parties, cloaked beneath the glittering facade of the white parties, revealed an entirely different realm. They took place on the second floor or sometimes in hidden basement rooms, he said. You'd walk in, your phone confiscated, security guards posted at every turn, the air thick with an almost ritualistic tension. There were rooms fitted with two-way mirrors, concealed cameras, and dim lighting that made you feel watched at every moment. According to Will, these gatherings were far more than hedonistic revelry. They were a theater of manipulation, with Diddy orchestrating every move.
I saw young girls, some not even 18, ushered into rooms like commodities. They were coerced into taking pills that stripped away their control, all to serve the whims of VIP guests. And there I witnessed celebrities, people I once admired, behaving like predators.
But the moment that truly unveiled Diddy's nature came one night in 2013 at his Miami mansion, when Will and Cassie Ventura, Diddy's girlfriend at the time, were led to the second floor. I saw Cassie treated like an object by Diddy, Will recounted, his voice catching. He struck her, forced her to engage with others, including me. I refused, and Diddy fixed me with a stare that felt like it could devour me. He said, "Will, you don't get to choose here. This is my game, my rules. You'll learn to get used to it." I was repulsed, not just by Sean, but by myself for even being there.
that was so incomprehensible. You know, it was just so, it's hard to understand the level of human.
Will tried to blend in for a few months, convincing himself it was the price of survival in the industry. But the deeper he went, the more revulsion consumed him. There were nights I saw girls dragged into rooms, their eyes hollow as if their souls had been drained. Once I heard sobs echoing from a locked room, but when I asked, Diddy just laughed and said, "Don't worry, they're just having fun." By late 2013, Will's endurance had reached its breaking point, compelling him to sever ties with the freak-off parties. He confronted Diddy in a private meeting, his resolve firm. "I can't keep doing this," he declared.
I'm a husband, a father. I love Jada. I love my kids. I won't let them be dragged into that world.
Diddy lounged in his armchair, a smirk curling his lips, his gaze sharp as a blade slicing through the tense air. "You think walking away is that easy, Will?" he said, his voice low but laced with menace. "You belong to me. Don't forget that." Will, buoyed by his fame and influence, brushed off the warning. He believed he was untouchable, strong enough to break free from Diddy's grip. But he was wrong, and the cost of his defiance came faster than he could have imagined, crashing over his life like an unexpected storm. By late 2015, just months later, Will's glittering career began to falter. Major roles he'd been promised vanished without explanation. Film projects he'd poured his heart into were abruptly canceled, with vague excuses from producers. Poisonous rumors spread like wildfire across social media. Will Smith was mentally unstable. Will Smith was unfaithful. Even cruel whispers about his sexuality.
Will Smith being gay and having gay relations with, who was it with?
Diddy.
They're both bisexual. They do weird things in their house, and young men have left their house screaming to get away from them in their mentorship. Meek Mills, Bashir Gray, left that house fucking screaming. August the only one that stayed, and I guess he was really sick. He needed a dog.
Each rumor struck like a dagger, chipping away at the reputation he'd built over decades. Slowly, Will began to see Diddy's hand behind it all. Never directly threatening, Diddy's message was unmistakable. Defying him had consequences. With his vast web of connections in the entertainment world, Diddy had turned Will into a pawn in his ruthless game of power, isolated and relentlessly squeezed. Yet Will refused to yield. He steadfastly declined invitations to Diddy's infamous freak-off parties, ignoring the thinly veiled threats from Diddy's associates. His defiance only fueled Diddy's rage. Then, on a fateful night in late 2015, a video arrived on Will's phone from an unknown number, later traced to one of Diddy's close aides. As Will opened it, his heart seized. There, in the frame, was his son Jaden, just 17 years old, at a freak-off party. Surrounded by strangers, liquor splashed on him. Jaden was mocked by jeering laughter that cut like knives. Tears streamed down his face, his eyes wide with panic, but no one reached out to help. In the background, Diddy stood, a triumphant grin on his face, like a director savoring his cruel masterpiece.
That was a horrific night, as you can imagine.
He wanted me to know that if I didn't fall in line, my family would pay the price.
The pain from that video was a wound that would never close. Jaden came home shattered, withdrawn, and unwilling to speak a word about what happened. "My son isn't himself anymore," Will said, his voice cracking with grief. "He's terrified, his eyes vacant, like a part of his spirit was stolen." In a moment of desperation, Will called Diddy, shouting through his anguish, only to be met with a chilling response. "You know what I've got, Will. Don't force my hand to show more." From that day forward, Will was consumed by relentless fear, trapped in Diddy's suffocating web of control. His career continued to crumble, doors to opportunities slammed shut, and malicious rumors spread like wildfire, threatening to obliterate the reputation he'd built in the public's eyes. Diddy's message was crystal clear: Will had no freedom, not in his professional life, nor in his personal one, nor in the safety of his family. But Will didn't rely solely on raw emotion in his testimony. He came armed with irrefutable evidence, meticulously collected over years to shield himself and his loved ones. Among his arsenal was a USB drive holding secret recordings, safeguarded since 2013. One haunting audio from 2018, authenticated by the FBI, carried Diddy's cold, unmistakable voice.
Will, you know what I'm capable of. Don't force me to release Jaden's video. You want your family safe. Then play nice.
Next, Will submitted photographs from security cameras at Diddy's Los Angeles mansion, revealing a hidden tunnel leading to a basement where young women were held like captives. Sourced from a former Diddy employee, These images exposed squalid conditions, cramped, windowless rooms where terrified girls huddled in fear. Will didn't stop there. He provided 6 videos, secretly recorded at freak-off parties. Between one clip showed Diddy ordering a young woman to entertain a VIP guest, his tone menacing, "Do it well or you'll never leave this place." Though grainy, the footage clearly depicted a ruthless network of extortion and control orchestrated by Diddy. Will also submitted bank records, including a $500,000 transfer he made in late 2015 to one of Diddy's shell companies. "It wasn't a loan or an investment," Will explained, his voice thick with indignation. "It was the price I paid to keep my family safe, yet, even after his arrest, I lived in constant fear." Prosecutors supplemented this with dozens of transactions from other shell companies, revealing Diddy's multi-million-dollar schemes to launder money and pay gifts to powerful figures to ensure their silence. Further evidence included an internal Bad Boy Entertainment document leaked by a former employee listing special guests at the freak-off parties. Will's name appeared multiple times, marked with notes like "priority confidentiality" and "requires monitoring." But the courtroom fell into stunned silence when Will introduced security footage, obtained from a former Diddy bodyguard, showing young women being led through the mansion's hidden tunnel. They appeared gaunt, some in handcuffs. "Diddy sent me down there a few times to check on the girls," Will recounted, his voice trembling.
I saw them treated like slaves. Once a girl begged me for help, but I was too terrified to act.
The most devastating blow came with the final piece of evidence, a video of Jaden. In it, the 17-year-old was mocked and humiliated by Diddy and his entourage at a freak-off party, liquor poured over him as he wept. "I'll never forgive myself for letting my son get near Diddy," Will said, tears streaming down his face. "He's not human, he's a monster." These FBI-verified pieces of evidence struck like daggers, dismantling Diddy's defense and leaving his legal team scrambling. Will's revelations extended beyond the parties, exposing a broader criminal network where Diddy used shell companies to launder money and pay gifts to influential figures. "They called them gifts," Will said, "but they were bribes to buy silence. I know of at least 3 major celebrities who took Diddy's money to keep quiet about the freak-offs." A former hacker previously employed by a cybersecurity firm tied to Diddy confirmed he was tasked with erasing videos from servers, but some copies had slipped through and reached the FBI. Will also laid bare the chilling truth about the tunnel in Diddy's mansion, a hidden prison where young women were confined like captives. They were locked in the basement, fed just 2 meager meals a day, he recounted. Diddy claimed that if they ate more, they'd lose their figure and become worthless to his clients. Most of these girls were lured with false promises of stardom. They were young, often uneducated, and Diddy knew exactly how to exploit them. Will described a haunting moment when he was sent down the tunnel to retrieve a girl for a client. "I saw a girl, maybe 16, huddled in a corner, her eyes swollen from crying. She begged me, 'Please get me out of here.' I was trembling, but I couldn't act. I was terrified Diddy would destroy my family." According to Smith's testimony, even though Diddy had been in custody for months, his network of loyalists continued to torment the Smith family. In the aftermath of Diddy's arrest, Will, in a moment of self-preservation, convinced himself that seeking justice wasn't necessary. He didn't need to make Diddy pay or face him in court. All he craved was a quiet life for himself and his family, like any ordinary person. So, he made a public statement, emphatically distancing himself from Diddy and his scandal, hoping to sever all ties and wipe the slate clean.
After his arrest, I thought it was over. I was wrong. Messages started coming from burner phones, demanding my silence. An anonymous email warned, "Speak out and Jaden's video will be plastered across every tabloid."
But things were far from as simple as Smith had hoped. Diddy's inner circle was determined to ensure nothing worsened his mounting charges, so they relentlessly harassed Smith, demanding absolute silence before the media and the public. They forbade him from leaking any information that could harm Diddy's case. Despite Smith's compliance bending to their every dictate, the pressure on his family only intensified as Diddy's legal battle spiraled toward a dead end. Will revealed that Diddy's allies were prepared to burn it all down. If they couldn't save Diddy, they'd drag everyone connected into the abyss, including Will and Jaden. That realization pushed Will to take the stand. "I couldn't let my son live in fear forever," he said, his voice resolute yet heavy with dread. "I had to face this monster even if it destroys me." Will's testimony hit like a hurricane. But Diddy's legal team wasn't about to back down. Spearheaded by Benjamin Carter, a lawyer renowned for turning hopeless cases around, they launched a fierce counterattack. Carter branded Will's testimony as a fabricated tale driven by personal vengeance. He argued that Will, still reeling from the fallout of slapping Chris Rock at the 2022 Oscars, was desperate to salvage his reputation by smearing Diddy. "There's no video of Jaden in existence," Carter declared. "Recordings can be doctored and bank transactions are just standard business deals." To bolster his case, he produced a 2012 email where Will thanked Diddy for supporting Jaden's music project, painting their relationship as cordial and professional. Carter urged the court to dismiss Will's claims, citing a lack of concrete physical evidence tying Diddy to the allegations. Meanwhile, Diddy sat at the defendant's table, his face a mask of stoicism, though his trembling hands betrayed a storm of emotions he was struggling to contain. When the judge asked if he wished to respond directly, Diddy, through his counsel, declined to speak. Outside the courtroom, however, his team unleashed a media blitz, accusing Will of spinning stories to boost his own fading fame. Yet Will's evidence, recordings, videos, and transaction records cast a shadow over Carter's defense. Prosecutors hammered home that a $500,000 payment Will made to a shell company linked to Diddy was clear proof of extortion. They further bolstered their case with testimony from a former bodyguard of Diddy's, who confirmed witnessing girls held captive in an underground tunnel. Another witness, a woman who had been in prison, testified that Diddy forced her to serve VIP clients when she was just. These accounts, combined with Will's evidence, left Diddy's defense teetering on the edge. Will's testimony didn't just strike at Diddy, it sent shockwaves through Hollywood, sounding an alarm for the entire industry. It laid bare a brutal truth: even the brightest stars can fall prey to a manipulative system where power and wealth cloak heinous crimes. The young women held captive, victims like Jaden, and figures like Will himself all stand as stark evidence that fame offers no shield against the cruelty of predators like Diddy. The fallout from this case is beyond calculation. Names on the so-called VIP guest list now face the looming threat of public scrutiny and legal consequences. Major entertainment companies once tied to Diddy risk investigation for their connections to shadowy shell corporations. Yet this scandal raises questions far weightier than the case itself, forcing us to confront uncomfortable realities. Where do we draw the line between power and abuse? Diddy was once hailed as an emblem of triumph, but his influence morphed into a weapon to manipulate and destroy others. Can Hollywood cleanse its own house, or is this merely the tip of a much darker iceberg? As spectators and consumers of pop culture, what responsibility do we bear in holding the famous accountable? Does our apathy enable such atrocities to persist? And what of the victims, the girls trapped in tunnels, Jaden, Will? How long will it take for them to heal? Those who stayed silent to shield Diddy, will they face justice, or will they continue to lurk in the shadows? As the courtroom session drew to a close, Will Smith stepped out, his posture drained yet his eyes blazing with unyielding resolve. Facing a swarm of reporters, he paused and declared, "This isn't about fame. I'm doing this for my son, for the girls held captive, and for those who have no voice. If I don't speak up, who will?" Will's words rang out like a battle cry, not just against Diddy, but against an entire system that has long concealed its sins. Yet this saga is far from over. Hollywood teeters on the brink of a reckoning where its darkest secrets are being dragged into the light. And we, as onlookers, must grapple with a pressing question: will justice truly prevail in this case, or will power and wealth once again triumph? To keep following this journey to uncover the truth and stay updated on what's next, make sure you've hit subscribe and turned on notifications. Your support fuels our ability to dive deeper into investigative stories like this. In our next video, we'll delve further into Diddy's VIP guest list and the secrets Hollywood doesn't want you to know. Are you ready to face the truth?